Okay, good morning Queensland. Well, today we're going to do two updates. The first one is going to be about Tropical Cyclone Kimi, and then we'll be doing the COVID update. So I'll start with the cyclone. So at the moment, Tropical Cyclone Kimi is a Category 1, could be a Category 2, and at this stage the predictions is it could hit landfall between Innisfail and Ingham. So we want everyone in these regions up north to be listening to their radio, listening to the media messages, because the Bureau will be giving you updates every 3 hours. And of course, cyclones are a little bit unpredictable and they will move, of course, during the course of today. So there is a cyclone warning out and about at the moment. Our Queensland Disaster Management Committee will meet this afternoon at 3:30, where I'll be joined by ministers and also the mayors, the relevant mayors of the regions. And of course, there's a lot of preparations that have been ongoing at the moment, especially with the local Disaster Management Committee. So I thank all of the mayors in the regions, from Port Douglas all the way down, who have been preparing for this event. David from the Bureau will give you an update in relation to the flood watch. But of course, once this cyclone crosses land and brings the rain with it, can I please just advise everyone, if it's flooded, forget it. Please listen to the warnings and the flood watch, because we do expect there to be a lot of rain coming with this cyclone. So we'll give you another update this afternoon. And of course, I know that people up in the north are very well prepared when it comes to cyclones. They know how to deal with these. They do listen to what authorities are saying, and they are very, very well prepared. So especially over the next few hours, please listen to the Bureau, and it's either likely to cross tonight or during tomorrow. So we'll be keeping everyone updated. So I'll hand over to David from the Bureau, then we'll hear from the State Disaster Coordinator. The Minister will answer any questions in relation to the cyclone, and then we'll move on to COVID. Thank you. Thanks, Dave.
Good morning. As the Premier said, Tropical Cyclone Kimi is currently at Category 1 intensity. It's forecast to intensify and reach Category 2 sometime during the course of today or during Tuesday as it approaches or crosses the Queensland east coast, somewhere between Innisfail and Ingham. Tropical cyclone warning is current for areas, coastal and adjacent inland areas between Port Douglas, and that's just recently been extended down south to Ayr, and includes Cairns and Townsville. Heavy to intense rainfall and potentially dangerous flash flooding will be a risk about the tropical east coast over the next couple of days, and as a result, a flood watch is current for coastal catchments between Cape Flattery and Ingham. Damaging to destructive winds with gusts to 150 kilometres per hour are expected to develop about the tropical east coast during the course of today, or may develop during the course of tomorrow, depending on the path that Kimi takes. Otherwise, abnormally high tides and large waves should develop about the coastal areas of the tropical east coast during the course of today and into tomorrow, with some minor flooding possible about foreshore areas. That's the update from the Bureau, but otherwise I'll hand over to Mr. Golczewski.
Thank you. State Disaster Coordinator. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Premier. Good morning, everyone. So our preparations for this are very good in the local areas, so all of the councils and our local disaster groups are prepared for this. But it is important for the community to stay connected and listen to the messaging all day. As we have already seen with this system, its projected track has changed on a number of occasions, and we can expect that that may well still happen as the day goes forward. So for the community, please stay connected and listen to the messaging. It will be continuing all day. We will be sending out updates as they come in. Any persons that are in areas likely to be impacted should look at their local arrangements, including sandbagging and the like, and whether they need to do that. Obviously, we have had significant rain in parts of those areas recently, so we have very wet catchments. So we're watching very closely the flood levels, and we'll be issuing alerts as they come through. But as the Premier said, this is a time for preparation and to make sure that we're all doing the right thing. If it's flooded, forget it. If people need assistance, make sure that they are looking for it in a timely way. But when the time comes, and if we see a landfall in the areas that are impacted, people must be prepared to shelter in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Minister.
Thank you very much, and just wanted to reinforce those messages, particularly about Tropical Cyclone Kimi in the north and far north. So just reinforcing that warning area. Port Douglas to Lucinda, extending inland to Mareeba, so that includes places like Cairns, Cardwell and Atherton. There is a watch zone from Lucinda to Ayr, which includes Townsville. So if you're in any of those areas, please don't be complacent. I know we're Queenslanders, I know we go through cyclones every single year, but please do not be complacent. What Tropical Cyclone Kimi could bring is destructive winds up to 150 kilometres an hour, heavy rainfall, so that means flash flooding, that means major river flooding in some areas, particularly in the Herbert, Murray and Tully River catchments which are saturated, which are very damp. So if you're in those areas, you need to prepare. As Steve Golcheski from Queensland Police said, if it's flooded, forget it. Have a plan about where you'll be travelling. Bear in mind where those river catchments are. Be aware that during this event, you could have flash flooding. There are storm tides predicted between areas of Yarrabah and Cardwell, so please, if you're on the coast there, be prepared. This is a cyclone. This is a tropical cyclone at potentially Category 2 at the moment. You do have to be prepared. So at home, if you're in those warning areas, if you're in those watch areas, please make all the preparations you need to do. That means securing property, trampolines, sheds, outdoor furniture, all of those things you usually do. You need to be ready for this event. I did just want to also highlight that the Bureau has got a watch out today for some severe thunderstorms here in southeast Queensland too, and parts of central Queensland. So that severe thunderstorm predicted for today and going into tonight could potentially bring intense rainfall, damaging winds and large hail as well. So there is flash flooding risks for the southeast and parts of central Queensland. So please check out the warnings on the Bureau of Meteorology website. Keep in touch with your media channels. It is very important you have a plan and you are prepared about these weather events. Be very, very careful about the intense rain that could come in southeast Queensland because it could bring that flash flooding. We're well prepared right across the state, and in fact the QFES Commissioner is here if any extra information is needed around QFES's preparations, but we have swiftwater rescue crews already stood up in the north and far north, and aircraft on standby to move them as the cyclone tracks to different locations. So we're on the ground now, we're able to deploy those resources to other places should the cyclone track change, and we're working very closely with all the other stakeholders to make sure we're ready for this event. But can I just repeat that message again for all Queenslanders? There's a cyclone on the way. Make preparations now, do not wait. Get ready for this event. It could bring intense weather, and that could impact you and your family.
Okay. Any questions?
I don't know who this is suited to, but given the wet catchments, how concerned are you about flooding in the north?
Yeah, so we were briefed on that this morning and we'll get further briefings. Yes, we are concerned about the flooding. That's why we have that flood watch out. And we will be able to give further information after our Queensland Disaster Management Committee meeting, which will be held at 3:30 this afternoon. So we'll be giving a further update at 4 p.m. this afternoon.
When do you expect conditions to peak, get their worst?
We'll have a better idea this afternoon, Lydia. So, like I said, we'll get further updates this afternoon. But at the moment, we're concentrating on that area between Innisfail and Ingham.
This morning, this afternoon?
Sorry?
When do you think it'll be like that, this morning or this afternoon?
We'll get further updates this afternoon. So every 3 hours, the Bureau will be putting out alerts. So everybody in the north and the far north of our state should be listening to the media reports very, very closely, because the Bureau will be giving those reports every 3 hours, and we'll be giving a further update from the government, the state government, this afternoon at 4 p.m. for everybody. Okay?
Dave, sorry, what's your surname?
Grant, G-R-A-N-T.
Okay, we might move on to COVID now, if that's all right. So thank you, everybody. Just get the Health Minister and Deputy Commissioner can stay, and Dr Young. Okay. So, in very good news, Queensland, we've only had one new case overnight, and that has been an overseas acquired, detected in hotel quarantine. It's a female who's recently travelled from Brazil. So we have 25 active cases, and we have done in the past 24 hours 5,173 tests. So those test numbers are coming down, but can I say to everyone, please remember, if you have any symptoms, please go and get tested. So this is, again, really, really good news. And, of course, we're waiting till Friday morning, 1 a.m. If we keep this track happening now, it's more than likely that all of those restrictions will be removed by Friday. So a few more days to go, but thank you for everyone who's been doing the right thing, especially with the mask wearing and listening to what you can do and you can't do. So I'll hand over to Dr. Young.
Thank you, Premier. So one new case overnight. A lady in hotel quarantine recently returned from Brazil. So that's excellent news. No other cases related to our cluster from the Hotel Grand Chancellor, just those initial 6. We've still got a few more days to go before we can be totally confident that we haven't had any spread, but it is very, very good news. And thank you to everyone who's been following all of those restrictions in Greater Brisbane, and in particular wearing masks. I think it's a really good habit we should all get into, that if you're in a crowded space, if you can't maintain social distancing, that you really wear a mask, particularly on public transport and if you're going into any shopping centres. I think that will help us all as we go forward. Thank you.
Well, once again, thank you, Queenslanders, for doing the hard work, going out and getting tested. We want to see those test numbers continue. Of course, if you have any symptoms whatsoever, wherever you are in Queensland, come out and get tested. It's wonderful to see the results that we are getting, which is no additional community cases, and I can report that there's been 864 tests undertaken of contacts in relation to the hotel cluster. Of those 864, we have had no positive cases. So that is really positive results, which gives us confidence that we are containing this virus. But of course, we do have a few days to go, and the time frame is 1 a.m. on Friday the 22nd if we have no more community cases that are unlinked. So continue to come out and get tested. We thank all of the staff, everyone involved with the Grand Chancellor and the Western for all of the work that was done over the weekend and for everyone's cooperation.
Thank you, Premier. Good morning. With respect to the current restrictions in Brisbane, I'm very pleased to say that the overall compliance remains very high, so we're not seeing any complacency, which is extremely encouraging. In fact, we've issued no fines in the last 24 hours and only handed out 28 masks, which is quite remarkable given the size of the area we're talking about. So a reminder that that does not change until confirmed no sooner than 1 a.m. on Friday, so please stay connected about what's happening there. We've seen 2,491 passengers processed through our domestic airports in the last 24 hours, 4,848 vehicles at our borders. We're still having to turn away large numbers of people, so another 40 people turned away at our borders in the last 24 hours. So the message is really clear to anyone coming back into Queensland. You still have to comply with our border declaration pass system and have exemptions to travel if you're coming out of hotspot areas. So please comply with that. It will save a lot of grief for everybody. So we've only put 55 persons into quarantine in Queensland in the last 24 hours. With respect to the investigation, it continues. There are several hundred people that are in the process of being interviewed. We are working through that. We are waiting for the final results on the environmental swabs and testing of air conditioning. That is, as I have said previously and the Commissioner said, is a very meticulous investigation. We are being extremely thorough. We are still not seeing anything obvious that causes us concern. And I have to say that the Grand Chancellor Hotel should be commended because they have not only been willing to assist us with this investigation, but our investigation today has shown that they have done everything that they should have done in the conduct of that hotel when it was used for quarantine. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any questions?
Is there new case in quarantine from Brazil? Has genome testing been done?
That hasn't come back yet.
Okay,
Yep. Yes.
Premier, in terms of business prospects, now that we're no longer a hotspot, what do you think Easter will look like? Given that?
Well, it's no longer a federal hotspot's been taken off, but of course we're waiting until that Friday morning until we can see whether or not we can take that away. So fingers crossed that'll be all right. But of course, that would be a wonderful sign, of course, to our economy as well, that things can get back to normal. I think for businesses as well, that would be welcome news. And once again, it's been a great result from what Greater Brisbane has done. And it just goes to show if we all act together quickly and making those tough decisions and cooperating, we can get good results. But like I said, we're not out of the woods yet. We've got a few more days. So let's just see how the next 3 days go.
And in terms of the vaccine, would
Yes.
you look at a similar policy to what New South Wales are looking at the moment in terms of no jab, no access to pubs?
Look, I'm just going to wait till we get the rollout. We've got the Commonwealth schedule that's come through. I'll be looking at that. But once again, if Dr Young says it's safe to have the vaccine, I'll be having the vaccine. Okay? Yes?
Okay. Do we know how many cases in New South Wales are yet to link?
If you go onto their own website, they say they've had 9 unlinked cases in the last week.
And so that would have until January 28 when you're doing the review to link those up.
Yep.
Can I ask the Deputy Police Commissioner? Late last week it was 3 of the 6 infected people had been interviewed. Have the remaining 3 been interviewed?
That's still in progress, so there have been more interviews, but they're not fully completed yet. And it's not just the people that were infected, it's also the close associates of those that have been interviewed as well.
Premier, can I ask quickly, have you spoken to Les Walker? How is he recovering?
Yes, I have spoken to Les, and he is recovering well, but there is a police investigation that's ongoing, so I won't be making any further comments. Okay? All right, we'll see everyone at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Thank you.